There is something sacred about the stillness of the morning. That quiet hour when the world has not yet demanded your attention, when your heart still has time to decide who will guide it today, your emotions, your plans, or your God. Every sunrise carries more than light. It carries divine instructions, but few ever hear them because their hearts are already busy chasing what they have not prayed for. The greatest danger in life is to wake up and walk into a day that heaven did not design. So before you move, before you speak, and before you plan, there's a whisper from heaven saying, "Let me align your steps." When you wake in the morning, the first conversation you have determines the rhythm of your entire day. If your first words are with people, your day will be human-driven. If your first words are with God, your day will be heaven-led. Alignment doesn't happen by wish, it happens by surrender. Each day is a divine script, and prayer is the key that unlocks the correct version of your story. Many people live exhausted not because they are lazy, but because they are running in lanes that God never assigned to them. They move quickly, but not accurately. They achieve much, but fulfill little. They have plans, but lack divine direction. The prayer, "Lord, align my day with you," is not just a morning ritual. It's a declaration of dependence. It's saying, "Father, I don't trust my own understanding today. I want to walk in your wisdom, not mine." Proverbs 3:5-6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight." Alignment means God straightens what you cannot see. It means that before you face the world, heaven arranges your path. There are people who rush into meetings, relationships, and opportunities that look promising but were never appointed. Every morning, the Spirit of God waits for you to pause, to listen, and to yield. He doesn't want you to merely survive the day. He wants you to walk through it with purpose. The alignment of your day begins not with your schedule, but with your surrender. Before your hands work, your heart must worship. Before your feet move, your spirit must listen. Before you speak, you must first hear his voice whisper, "This is the way, walk in it." When you start your morning without aligning it with God, you might find yourself fighting battles that were never meant for you. You may chase things that will drain your spirit or worry about what heaven already solved. But when you pray, "Lord, align my day with you," you are saying, "I refuse to walk ahead of your will. I choose divine timing over personal ambition. I choose peace over pressure. I choose obedience over opportunity." You see, divine alignment does not mean your day will be free from challenges. It means you'll face them with divine perspective. When your steps are ordered by God, even what the enemy meant for harm becomes a setup for his glory. Psalm 37:23 says, "The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delights in his way." This means every interruption, every delay, every encounter has divine purpose. Nothing just happens when you are aligned with heaven. Even your detours are directions in disguise. There are mornings when you feel the weight of yesterday pressing into your spirit. Regrets, fears, deadlines, and expectations come rushing in before your feet even touch the floor. That is when prayer becomes your reset button. When you whisper, "Lord, align me today," heaven silences every voice that tries to dictate your mood. You start to walk differently. You move with assurance because you know who holds the day. You don't have to chase blessings. They follow you because you're walking in the path prepared for you. When God aligns your day, he rearranges what was out of order. People who were against you start to work in your favor. Closed doors suddenly open. Words that once hurt you lose their power. You begin to understand that alignment is not about control. It's about trust. God never asks you to know the plan. He asks you to follow the planner. When your will bows before his, heaven moves things that your effort could never move. Sometimes divine alignment means God slows you down. Not every delay is demonic, some are divine. When you pray in the morning, you're not just asking God to bless your day. You're giving him permission to interrupt it. Because not everything that is urgent is important, and not everything that looks right is righteous. God aligns your steps to protect your purpose. Many times, what looks like rejection is actually redirection. What feels like disappointment is God realigning your path to destiny. Morning prayer is not a routine, it's a meeting with destiny. It's a moment where your spirit checks in with heaven's blueprint. Before you talk to people, you talk to the one who designed your path. When you wake up, heaven expects attendance. There's a heavenly agenda with your name on it. And if you don't show up in prayer, you'll miss divine instructions meant for you. Prayer is not about changing God's mind, it's about positioning your heart. Every believer must understand that divine alignment is a daily pursuit. It doesn't happen once and last forever. Every sunrise resets your assignment. That's why Jesus himself withdrew early in the morning to pray, Mark 1:35. If the Son of God needed alignment, how much more do we? He didn't start his day by reacting to people, he started by connecting to the Father. Because when you align with the Father, your reaction to everything else changes. In the silence of morning, when the light first touches your room, that's when heaven whispers destiny's secrets. There are instructions for the day that cannot be heard in noise. That's why the enemy fights your morning. He doesn't fear your routine, he fears your alignment. Because when your day is aligned with God, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. You walk into rooms carrying divine favor. You speak words seasoned with divine wisdom. You discern what others overlook. Some people pray, God bless my plans. But those who are truly wise pray, God reveal yours. Because divine alignment is not God adjusting to your schedule, it's you adjusting to His. When you are aligned, every hour of your day becomes an act of worship. Even your work becomes ministry. Your decisions carry heaven's weight. You stop chasing signs and start walking in faith. There will be moments in your day when things seem to fall apart. But when you are aligned with heaven, you don't panic, you pause. You remember that divine alignment means divine timing. Even a broken moment can serve a sacred purpose. The meeting that got canceled, the delay that frustrated you, the conversation that didn't go as planned, all become threads in a divine tapestry. Because when God aligns your day, nothing is wasted. The Spirit of God will often whisper instructions that seem small. Call this person. Wait before responding. Take a different route. Pray before you decide. These small promptings are not random. They are divine guidance in disguise. The more you listen, the more aligned you become. The more you obey, the clearer His voice grows. Prayer is not only about talking, it's about training your spirit to hear. Alignment happens when your heart becomes sensitive to divine instruction. When your morning begins with surrender, your day ends with peace. Because what begins in prayer cannot end in chaos. The peace of God becomes your atmosphere. Philippians 4:6-7 reminds us, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your request to God. That's the power of alignment. Peace where others feel pressure, clarity where others feel confusion, calm where others see crisis. If you truly desire God to align your steps, you must be willing to release control. Because you cannot hold the steering wheel and ask God to drive. Faith is not knowing the route, it's trusting the driver. Every morning when you pray, you hand over the keys to your day. You say, Lord, if you lead, I will follow. If you speak, I will listen. If you change the road, I will trust you. That's alignment, a life lived under divine direction. You may not know what your day holds, but you know who holds your day. And when you walk in that awareness, you stop worrying about outcomes. You don't need to see the full map, you just need to follow the light for the next step. Psalm 19:105 says, your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. God doesn't give you the whole path, He gives you just enough light for obedience. Every morning He offers new light, fresh mercy, and a divine reset. When you begin your morning with that sacred surrender, something shifts within you. You begin to recognize that the day is not yours to command, it's yours to steward. The breath in your lungs is borrowed. The time you have is a gift. The opportunities you encounter are not coincidences. They are divine setups designed to align you with purpose. That's why the morning becomes more than a routine. It becomes a holy transaction where heaven deposits clarity and peace into your soul. When your spirit connects with the Spirit of God before the day begins, confusion loses its authority. You begin to sense when something is right or wrong, even before it unfolds, because alignment births discernment. When God aligns your day, He fine-tunes your heart to operate in divine rhythm. Suddenly, the things that used to drain you no longer have access to your peace. The same situations that once created anxiety now strengthen your faith. It's not because life became easier, it's because your spirit became synchronized with heaven. When you are aligned, interruptions become divine appointments. What others call distractions, you call directions. You stop viewing obstacles as punishments and start seeing them as lessons in disguise. You walk through your day with a quiet confidence that whispers, my Father is in control. Prayer is not about length, it's about alignment. A few moments of sincere surrender can set the tone for your entire day. The enemy knows that if he can distract you in the morning, he can disrupt your alignment. That's why he fills your mind with urgency, messages, and tasks the moment you wake up. But when you rise and declare, "Oh Lord, order my steps today," you silence the noise of chaos before it begins. You decide that peace will be your first choice, not your last resort. There is a deep power in beginning your day by inviting God into your ordinary moments. He's not just present in your prayers. He's present in your planning, in your driving, in your conversations, and in your silence. Alignment doesn't end when you say amen. It continues in every choice that follows. The decisions you make, the words you speak, the attitude you carry, all of them reflect whether your heart is in sync with heaven. You cannot align with God in the morning and walk in pride by afternoon. True alignment means consistency between what you prayed and how you live. When you walk in divine alignment, your spirit begins to anticipate the movements of God. You start noticing small blessings that others overlook. A sudden peace in the middle of stress, an unexpected favor in the middle of need, a divine encounter when you least expect it. These are not random blessings, they are confirmations that heaven heard your morning prayer. God begins to reveal His hand in ordinary details. That's how alignment works. It transforms ordinary days into extraordinary testimonies. When you ask God to align your steps, you must also be prepared for realignment, because sometimes God must first break your schedule to fix your direction. He removes certain people, shifts certain plans, and even closes certain doors, not to punish you, but to protect you from misalignment. Every time you lose something that wasn't meant for your destiny, heaven is making room for what's divine. Don't resist the realignment, receive it. Because behind every divine no is a greater yes that you cannot yet see. There will be moments when your plans seem perfect, but God interrupts them. Maybe you prayed for an opportunity and it didn't come. Maybe you planned your day one way and everything fell apart. Yet in those moments, alignment reveals its true power. Because what seems like disruption is actually direction. God sees the traps ahead that you cannot. He reorders your steps to preserve your purpose. That's why you must learn to thank Him not only for what He gives, but also for what He blocks. Alignment requires trust, and trust is tested when things don't go as planned. You may start your morning in prayer and still face unexpected challenges. But alignment means you no longer interpret everything through fear. You interpret it through faith. You say, Lord, I don't understand this, but I trust that you are aligning it for my good. Romans 8:8 says, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. That verse is not about everything being easy, it's about everything being purposeful. The greatest evidence of divine alignment is not that life becomes comfortable, but that your peace remains unshaken. You can be surrounded by chaos and still walk with calmness. You can be misunderstood and still move with confidence. Because when God aligns your heart, circumstances lose their power to control your emotions. You become rooted in divine stability. People who are aligned with heaven don't need external validation. They move under divine confirmation. God aligns you daily not only for your benefit, but for others. Sometimes your alignment becomes someone else's blessing. The word you speak, the kindness you show, the prayer you whisper for someone, all of it flows from the overflow of a heart aligned with heaven. That's why alignment is not selfish, it's service. When you are in sync with God, He uses you as a vessel to carry His peace, His wisdom, and His presence into every environment you enter. There are days when alignment will require obedience before understanding. God may lead you into a situation where you cannot see the outcome. He might prompt you to help someone, to change direction, to wait when you want to move, or to move when you want to wait. Alignment means you follow without resistance. You trust that His thoughts are higher than your thoughts and His ways are higher than your ways. Obedience is the visible sign of internal alignment. You must understand that divine alignment is not only spiritual, it affects every area of your life. It influences your relationships, your finances, your health, your decisions, and your emotions. When your life is aligned with God, even your timing becomes divine. You no longer chase what's not yours. You no longer rush what God is preparing. You understand that destiny unfolds in divine order. When the Spirit of God leads, even delays work in your favor. There is a beauty in learning to move at God's pace. The world teaches you to hurry. Heaven teaches you to harmonize. The world says, you're late. God says, you're right on time. The world says, you missed your chance. God says, I'm still aligning your season. Divine alignment means you no longer compare your journey to anyone else's. You stop measuring your life by timelines and start measuring it by obedience. Sometimes the most powerful prayer you can pray is not, Lord, bless me, but Lord, stop me. Because sometimes blessings hide behind boundaries. When God stops you, He's saving you. When He delays you, He's developing you. When He hides you, He's protecting you from exposure before preparation. That's what happens when you live in daily alignment. Your trust in Him outweighs your need for control. As you move through your day, you'll notice moments where you feel a gentle tug in your spirit, a sense to pause, to pray, or to change direction. Don't ignore those moments. They are signals from the Spirit. They are heaven's way of saying, I'm guiding you. The more you obey those inner promptings, the stronger your connection becomes. You'll find yourself making decisions with divine accuracy, speaking words that heal, walking into moments that transform. You cannot live in alignment if you start your day disconnected. That's why your morning prayer matters. It's not about religious performance, it's about spiritual positioning. When you rise early to seek God, you are declaring that His presence is your priority. You are saying, before I face people, I'll face heaven. Before I take a step, I'll take a moment with you. That is the posture of alignment. When you truly walk in this divine rhythm, your perspective on time changes. You begin to value moments differently. You stop wasting energy on what doesn't align with purpose. You learn to say no to things that drain your spirit and yes to what grows your soul. You learn that not every open door is a divine door. Some opportunities are distractions dressed as blessings. But when you are aligned with God, the Holy Spirit reveals the difference. Each morning becomes a spiritual checkpoint. It's your time to tune your heart to heaven's frequency. Just as a musician must tune his instrument before playing, your soul must be tuned before performing the symphony of life. If you don't take time to tune, your sound becomes distorted. But when you align yourself through prayer, every word, action, and decision you make produces harmony with heaven. Divine alignment also protects you from people who are not part of your purpose. Some relationships are seasonal, not eternal. When God begins to align your life, He separates what doesn't serve your destiny. You may feel lost, but it's actually liberation. He removes voices that cloud your discernment and brings those who amplify your calling. Alignment cleanses your circle. It draws divine connections that propel you forward and disconnects distractions that keep you bound. There will come a moment during your day when things won't make sense, when your faith is tested, your patience stretched, and your emotions unsettled. But in that moment, remember what you prayed that morning. You said, "Lord, align my day with you." That means even the confusion is part of the alignment. God doesn't just align blessings, He aligns battles too. Because every struggle has the potential to reveal your strength and refine your spirit. The key is not to seek a problem-free day, but a presence-filled day. When your day is aligned with God, His presence becomes your atmosphere. You carry peace into conflict, light into darkness, grace into frustration. You become an ambassador of heaven in every situation. That's why alignment is not just for your benefit. It's for everyone your life touches. You'll begin to notice that when you walk in alignment, you start attracting divine opportunities. Doors open that effort alone could never unlock. People begin to favor you without knowing why. Even your mistakes are redirected toward mercy. Because God doesn't bless perfection, He blesses alignment. He honors the heart that daily seeks to follow His plan. If you could see what God arranges in one day of true alignment, you would never skip your morning prayer again. Angels move at your obedience. Favor finds you. Protection surrounds you. Clarity floods your mind. Peace guards your heart. Because when heaven aligns your steps, nothing on earth can derail your purpose. Alignment is not a one-time event, it's a daily decision. It's a posture you must maintain hour by hour. Every time you feel anxiety rising, realign. Every time you feel confusion creeping in, realign. Every time pride whispers in your ear, realign. Say quietly in your heart, "Lord, realign me right now." And you will feel His peace reset your focus. God's alignment is not limited by your mistakes. Even when you step off course, His grace has a way of redirecting your path. That's why the prayer for alignment is one of humility. It acknowledges that without Him you drift. It's the confession of a heart that refuses to walk alone. And when God finds such a heart, He trusts it with greater assignments. The more you walk in divine alignment, the less you'll feel the need to explain yourself to others. Because you'll know that what you're doing is between you and the one who directs your path. The approval of heaven will matter more than the applause of men. You'll stop striving to prove your worth and start walking in your purpose. Alignment frees you from performing for acceptance. There's a difference between movement and progress. Many people move fast but go nowhere. But when your steps are aligned with God, every movement becomes meaningful. Even your stillness carries purpose. When God tells you to wait, waiting becomes warfare. Because alignment means that your timing and God's timing merge into one divine moment. And that is what makes your morning prayer powerful. It synchronizes heaven and earth in your life. You may not hear thunder or see visions, but deep within your spirit, a peace settles. You know that no matter what the day brings, you are walking with God's hand over your path, and every step you take echoes with purpose. When a person finally understands what it means to wake up each morning and invite God to align their day, everything changes. Life no longer feels like a random sequence of hours and events. It becomes a divine orchestration where every sound, every pause, and every step carries eternal significance. You begin to recognize that your life is not about getting through the day, but about walking with the one who created it. Every sunrise becomes an invitation, a sacred reminder that God has trusted you with another opportunity to represent Him on earth. That realization transforms the way you think, the way you speak, and the way you act. The power of divine alignment is that it shifts your perspective from survival to surrender. You stop saying, "Lord, bless what I'm doing," and start saying, "Lord, let me do what you are blessing." You stop trying to manipulate outcomes and start trusting the process. You stop worrying about what the future holds because you've learned to rest in the hands of the one who holds it. And when you live from that posture of alignment, your peace no longer depends on the circumstances around you. It flows from the presence within you. Each morning prayer becomes a declaration that you will not allow the world to shape your priorities before heaven does. It's a confession that says, "I refuse to begin this day with my will in charge. I choose to let your will lead." And when that becomes your habit, your entire life takes on a divine rhythm. You begin to sense the gentle leading of the Holy Spirit throughout the day. In your words, your reactions, your choices, and even your silence. You'll begin to recognize moments where you could have spoken but didn't, because peace whispered louder than pride. You'll notice times when you could have worried but didn't because faith stood stronger than fear. That's the fruit of alignment. Divine alignment is not a mystical idea, it's a practical lifestyle. It means your mind becomes renewed by His word daily. It means your priorities are shaped by His purpose, not your plans. It means your emotions submit to the authority of peace, not the chaos of the world. And when you walk in that level of order, everything connected to you begins to prosper. Relationships flourish because you now love with patience and discernment. Work becomes meaningful because you approach it with integrity and purpose. Even your challenges become stepping stones because you see them through the lens of destiny. There's a powerful moment that happens when a believer learns to say, "Lord, I trust you with my day." Heaven begins to move things in unseen ways. God begins to rearrange meetings, shift hearts, and open doors that align with your destiny. You may not notice it immediately, but every moment of obedience triggers divine motion. Angels respond to alignment. Favor responds to alignment. Wisdom responds to alignment. The Spirit of God begins to guide your conversations, your relationships, and even your pauses. Because divine alignment is not just about what you do, it's about who you become. When your life becomes aligned with God, you stop measuring success by what you accomplish and start measuring it by how closely you follow His direction. You begin to live with sensitivity to His presence, aware that every decision carries eternal weight. You don't move based on pressure, you move based on peace. You don't rush into things out of fear of missing out. You wait knowing that what is meant for you cannot pass you by when God has aligned it. You stop running after the next thing and start walking with the one who already holds everything. Every morning that you begin in alignment becomes a seed of peace planted in your spirit. That seed grows throughout the day, producing fruits of patience, clarity, and divine strength. Even when storms come, and they will, you are not shaken because your foundation is no longer in your emotions, it's in your obedience. You are anchored in the will of God, not the chaos of circumstances. That's the power of starting your day with prayer. You build spiritual stability before you face the unpredictable nature of life. Many people wake up chasing their purpose, not realizing that purpose can only be fulfilled when aligned with the Creator. True success is not speed, it's synchronization. You can move fast and still be out of rhythm with heaven. But when you walk in divine alignment, even slow steps carry supernatural acceleration. What takes others years to achieve, God can bring into your life in a moment because obedience unlocks favor. The steps of the righteous are ordered, not rushed. Every act of surrender becomes a bridge between your present and your destiny. When you pray, "Lord, align my day with you," you're not asking for an easy day. You're asking for an effective one. You're asking for a day that fulfills divine purpose, not personal pleasure. You're asking that every word you speak builds, not breaks, that every encounter carries light, not darkness. You're asking that every step you take is directed toward destiny, not distraction. And God honors that kind of prayer because it comes from a heart that desires partnership with heaven. There's a peace that comes from knowing you don't have to figure everything out. You don't have to control every detail. You just have to stay aligned. The enemy tries to tempt you with anxiety, fear, and frustration, but alignment reminds you that your day is not falling apart, it's falling into place. You may not understand how, but you trust who. That trust becomes your shield. It becomes the silent confidence that allows you to smile when others panic, to rest when others strive, to believe when others doubt. When God aligns your day, He also aligns your heart with eternity. You begin to realize that your purpose today is part of a much greater story. The conversations you have, the kindness you show, the prayers you whisper, they all echo in eternity. Every aligned step carries generational impact. Someone's breakthrough could depend on your obedience. Someone's healing could flow through your faithfulness. That's why alignment is sacred. It's how heaven uses ordinary people to accomplish extraordinary things. You might not feel it every day. There will be mornings when you wake up tired, when prayer feels dry, when alignment feels distant. But even in those moments, the act of showing up before God says everything about your faith. It says, "I'm not here because I feel like it, I'm here because I need you." And God honors consistency more than perfection. He meets those who seek Him diligently, even when the seeking feels silent, because alignment is not built on emotions, it's built on discipline. The more you show up, the more heaven shows out. It's important to remember that alignment is not only about prayer, it's about positioning. Prayer opens the door, but obedience keeps you in the room. When God gives instruction during your morning prayer, He expects action during your day. Many people hear from God but never move. Alignment means movement. It means when He speaks, you act. When He corrects, you change. When He redirects, you trust. You don't argue with His timing or question His strategy. You simply walk in step with His Spirit. Galatians 5:25 says, "If we live by the Spirit, let us also walk by the Spirit." Living by the Spirit means letting God's voice influence your every decision. It means aligning your thoughts with His truth, your goals with His purpose, and your reactions with His character. When that becomes your lifestyle, your life begins to manifest divine order. Chaos may surround you, but it can't live in you, because alignment creates an internal stillness that external storms cannot destroy. One of the greatest fruits of divine alignment is clarity. Confusion fades when your heart is surrendered. When you align your day with God, you begin to see things differently. You gain heavenly perspective. What once looked like a setback now looks like strategy. What once felt like pain now feels like pruning. You realize that God's plan was never to make you comfortable, it was to make you complete. Every season, every challenge, every delay becomes part of His divine choreography. You begin to thank God for what didn't happen. You thank Him for the doors that stayed closed, for the opportunities that slipped away, for the relationships that ended. Because now you see that misalignment would have cost you peace, purpose, and destiny. You begin to live in gratitude, not regret. You wake up thankful, not anxious, because you know that the same God who aligned your yesterday is already working in your tomorrow. Divine alignment also brings restoration. When you start living in sync with heaven, the years you thought were wasted begin to bear fruit. The mistakes you thought disqualified you become testimonies of grace. God begins to realign your path so perfectly that it seems as if you never went off course. That's the beauty of redemption. It doesn't erase your past, it realigns it for purpose. The scars you carry become proof of His faithfulness, not reminders of failure. When you live in daily alignment, your faith grows deeper. You start expecting miracles in small moments. You begin to notice how God whispers through details, the smile of a stranger, the timing of a message, the peace in a hard moment. You realize that the God who orders galaxies also orders your schedule, and that awareness fills you with awe. You begin to live every day as worship. Every task, every conversation, every prayer becomes sacred because you recognize the presence of God in all of it. Imagine waking up tomorrow and saying, "Lord, let every breath I take be aligned with your purpose." Imagine walking through your day so aware of His presence that worry can't take root. Imagine living in such trust that even when things go wrong, your first instinct is not panic but prayer. That's what happens when alignment becomes lifestyle. You don't just pray for God to bless your path. You walk knowing that His path is the blessing. As you continue to seek Him each morning, remember this truth. Alignment is not about perfection, it's about direction. As long as your heart keeps turning toward Him, He keeps straightening your path. You may stumble, you may pause, but grace will always bring you back, because the one who began a good work in you is faithful to complete it. So each day rise with reverence. Whisper your prayer before you check your phone. Lift your eyes to heaven before you lift your hands to work. Say, "Lord, align me today. Let every thought reflect your wisdom, every word carry your love, every action fulfill your will." And as you do, watch how heaven begins to flow through your ordinary moments. Watch how peace replaces panic, clarity replaces confusion, and purpose replaces pressure. By the time your head rests again at night, you'll see how every conversation, every encounter, every step had divine fingerprints. You'll realize that the day wasn't random, it was written. You didn't just go through a day, you walked through destiny. And when that awareness becomes your daily experience, you'll never want to live another day unaligned again. Because alignment is where heaven meets earth in your life. It's where chaos turns into clarity and where human effort transforms into divine excellence. This is the life you were created for, not to wander aimlessly through your days, but to walk purposefully with your Creator. Each morning He stands waiting, not with judgment, but with direction. Not with demands, but with design. All He asks is that you start your day with surrender. Because in that moment of surrender, He begins to shape your steps, strengthen your heart, and fill your day with meaning. And so when you rise tomorrow, remember, alignment is not a prayer you say once. It's a prayer you live daily. It's the heartbeat of a soul that has learned that life only makes sense when God is leading. It's the confession of someone who has discovered that peace is not found in having control, but in trusting the one who does. And as you continue to pray, "Lord, align my day with you," heaven will continue to guide, protect, and prosper every step you take, because the safest place on earth will always be the center of His divine plan.